Wilson's just a big bully. Look at this. Throws Lexi Hall on the ground. Everything she does is illegal. Look at this one. A moving screen and then pushes Lexi Hall. You think they ever call a foul on A'ja Wilson?
The Las Vegas Aces came out swinging with elbows, flops, and cheap shots. But the Indiana Fever didn't back down for a second. Every time A'ja Wilson tried to bully her way inside or Vegas threw in another shove, Indiana fired right back with speed, toughness, and pure heart. What Vegas thought would break the Fever only exposed their own desperation. And then came Kelsey Mitchell, draining clutch buckets that silenced the arena and flipped the script. Those shots weren't just points on the board, they were payback. This game wasn't only about a win, it was about exposing Vegas's dirty tactics and turning their arrogance into embarrassment. And after taking the brunt of A'ja Wilson's rough play, what did Lexi Hall have to say? Drop Fever Show in the comments to back Indiana after everything thrown at them. Let's go!
Was supposed to be a night all about A'ja Wilson's legacy. She made history before the ball even tipped, but the game that followed reminded the Aces how tough this playoff run will be.
The Indiana Fever have pulled off the upset, the 6th seed, beating Vegas 89-73 to take game.
Just hours before tip-off, all eyes in Las Vegas were on A'ja Wilson as she proudly held her MVP trophy. The night was set up to be a celebration, a statement to the league that the Aces were still the team to beat, ready to defend their crown. But by the time the final buzzer echoed, that trophy ceremony felt less like a triumph and more like a distraction. The shine of the moment faded fast once the game tipped off, because everything Las Vegas expected to come easy turned out to be anything but.
A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces lose game 1 on their home court to the Indiana Fever 89-73. The Indiana Fever were in control of this game from start to finish. There was a small little patch there in the third quarter. We started saying, are the Aces gonna come back? But Kelsey Mitchell and Odyssey Sims said, no, they're not going to come back, not at all.
Heading into this matchup, the Aces were crowned the overwhelming favorites. The media made it sound like Indiana was lucky just to share the same court. That narrative was set long before the opening tip. Vegas had the rings, the stars, the winning streak. Indiana, they were limping in with half their roster sidelined by injuries. Caitlin Clark was out, Sophie Cunningham was missing, Sydney Colson couldn't go, and the list didn't end there. To most analysts, this wasn't a fair fight. It was a foregone conclusion. That arrogance carried over to the Vegas bench, where head coach Becky Hammond doubled down, reminding everyone that the Fever hadn't even faced the real Aces yet. The message was crystal clear. This was supposed to be a statement game.
Just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were at a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
While Vegas soaked up all the pre-game hype, the Fever were treated like an afterthought. You could hear it in the analysts' voices. Indiana wasn't seen as a real contender, just another hurdle for the Aces to clear on their march toward another championship. And honestly, that played right into Indiana's hands. When nobody expects you to win, the pressure disappears. The weight is gone, you're free to just play. And from the opening tip, that freedom was written all over the Fever's game.
The Fever crashed the party. Kelsey Mitchell dropped a playoff career-high 34 points to spoil the night with an 89-73 win.
In the second half, I just felt like our physicality and our pursuit was not there. Like, we died on screens. You have to have second and third efforts. Even if you know you might be beat, you still have to try hard to get back into the play, and I don't think we tried hard in that category.
Indiana didn't crumble under the noise. They attacked Vegas from the opening tip. The ball moved with speed, shots fell, and suddenly the mighty Aces, full of swagger, looked a step behind. The pressure shifted fast. It wasn't Indiana carrying the weight anymore. It was Las Vegas, the 2-time defending champs, now dragged into a battle. they never expected. And that's the thing about arrogance. It turns to panic the moment an underdog refuses to break. By the final horn, the headline nobody predicted had become the story of the night. History says 72% of teams who take game 1 in a best-of-5 go on to win the series. With that upset, the math flipped entirely, and on their own home floor, the Aces were rattled, showing cracks they couldn't cover up.
You better not blank on the mission, bitch. You might get ranking. Shot back. Let it go. Right, go. What is fly for somebody? Die. Gang. You don't want to fight no hitter? No. Nigga, I'ma shoot you in the face.
The moment Indiana refused to fold, everything shifted. The Aces stopped playing clean basketball and slid into something far more desperate. You could see it right away. Rather than trusting their offense, their pace, and their movement, they resorted to shoves, trash talk, and frustration. What began as a showcase of dominance quickly unraveled into the league's top team scrambling for shortcuts.
Hall was getting pushed all game. Look at that. Like elbowed, pushed, but guess who fell? That's a legal screen. She leans into Lexi Hall, pushes her. Look at this. Pushes Lexi Hall down. Like, I can't take this crap. I'm sick of watching it over and over. That's a moving screen. And then pushes her again. Look at that. You can't do that. They didn't call any. This is the only one they called a foul. She straight pushed Kelsey Mitchell into Asia Wilson.
Aja Wilson set the tone in the worst way possible. Instead of letting her talent lead the way, she tried to take over with physical antics that had nothing to do with winning basketball. Off the ball, she threw elbows. After whistles, she forced her body into defenders. On transition plays, she delivered shoves that had nothing to do with contesting a shot. The flopping was just as blatant, collapsing to the floor as if she'd been trucked, only for replays to show nothing more than light contact. At one point, she even hooked a player's arm on a rebound and launched herself to the ground, acting like she was the victim. These weren't the moves of a dominant star. They were the actions of someone desperate to keep control slipping away.
Pathetic foul to start the game off with, but ball never lies. I love when karma happens. Yeah, miss your free throw. And then here we go. Check this out. A foul. Look at this when she swings her elbows on Powers. And Powers just holding her ground, but it's a foul. Let's go through this. This is Asia Wilson. I'm so big and bad. No, you didn't get touched. It wasn't that cool. You made a layup.
And the rest of the Aces followed her example. Jackie Young started throwing her body around on screens, delivering hits that looked more like football blocks than basketball plays. Off the ball, players were blindsided by hips and shoulders they never saw coming, all masked as physical defense. It slowed the flow of the game, but Indiana never wavered. If anything, the Fever leaned into the chaos, smiling through it and playing with even sharper precision as the night went on.
Aaliyah Boston swings her elbows around and makes a shot, but no, she can't do it. She's a Fever. An Indiana Fever. She said, that's a flop. That's what Caitlin said. Here we go. Asia Wilson. Look at her trying to flop to get a call. Nobody touched you. And this is the biggest bullcrap of the game. So Kelsey Mitchell goes in for a layup. Asia Wilson shows them their lip, so they review it. Ever see an Indiana Fever player get a review when they're called for a foul and they zoom in with a microscope and call it technical? They called it technical on Kelsey.
Every hard foul only seemed to ignite Indiana's rotation even more. Instead of rattling, Kelsey Mitchell called for the ball and attacked with confidence. Odyssey Sims locked in tighter on defense, refusing to give an inch. Down low, Natasha Howard and Brianna Turner absorbed every shove, answering with smart positioning and unshakable strength, never losing control, never taking the bait. What Vegas meant as intimidation turned into fuel, powering a team that was already fired up after being written off before the game even started.
Wilson, look at that foul they called for. Yeah, saved her. That's some bullcrap. I love Aaliyah Boston. Great job today playing defense. Look at that. Another foul. Bailed out by the refs. I get pissed off. This is the worst one. They call this a jump ball. How is that a jump ball? Nobody even had possession. Aaliyah Boston, that's anything is over the back. not a jump ball.
Here's the irony. Led by the league's newly crowned MVP, the Aces were supposed to look calm and collected under pressure. Instead, they exposed their nerves, falling back on antics that belong more to a playground than a championship stage. Every flop, every shove, every frustrated push was proof that Indiana's toughness had stripped away their swagger. While Vegas unraveled in frustration, the Fever Stars turned an ugly brawl into their moment to shine. Once it became clear Indiana wasn't going to break, Las Vegas abandoned basketball altogether and turned it into a wrestling match. Shoves in the lane, bodies crashing to the floor, and flops so obvious the entire arena laughed them off. That was the Aces' backup plan once the scoreboard no longer tilted their way, but Indiana didn't back down. They embraced the chaos, fueled by the fact that 6 teammates were already missing and someone had to rise to the challenge. Instead of being rattled, the dirty tactics only fed them, and with every misstep from Vegas, the Fever's fire burned hotter.
Mitch, put him in a dish! Who on the Las Vegas Aces is going to try to stop Kelsey Mitchell? Because from what I just saw, they had no answer for her. Kirsten Bell, line right up, smacked. Jackie Young, step right up, torched. Chelsea Gray, torched. Jewel Lloyd, torched. Nobody could hang with Kelsey Mitchell as she goes off.
Kelsey Mitchell delivered the perfect response to the Aces' antics. She lit them up for 34 points, scoring with surgical precision and refusing to let their rough play throw her off. No matter how many times Vegas tried to body her up after a drive or talk in her ear, she kept drilling dagger jumpers right in their faces. Each bucket was a statement. The Aces might win the scrums after the whistle, but on the scoreboard they couldn't touch her. For all the MVP awards and championship banners hanging in Vegas, not one player matched the offensive masterpiece Mitchell put on that night.
And keeping the pivot foot alive and going strong side for Wilson.
Mitchell this time finds a lane to the basket. Inside to Turner. Nice look from Mitchell, which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple of bounces.
And she wasn't doing it alone. Odyssey Sims looked every bit the veteran built for this stage. She attacked the paint with zero hesitation, made her presence felt on every defensive possession, and steadied the team whenever things threatened to spiral. You could see her guiding teammates through each play, slowing the tempo when Vegas tried to speed it into chaos, then slicing them up the very next trip with a fearless drive to the rim. That composure, that choice not to answer dirty play with more of the same, kept Indiana locked in and locked together.
Anticipation there by Brianna Turner. She's been on a couple WNBA all defensive teams, and she has really been key for them on that end of the floor in these playoffs.
Sims, yet again.
That's a tough matchup.
Which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple in the regular season in Asia. In the entire league. And Sims, they gave her just that space and she...
Tasha Howard and Brianna Turner went toe-to-toe with Aja Wilson in the paint and refused to be bullied out of their game. They held their ground, rotated smartly, and turned the inside battle into a nightmare for Vegas. It wasn't about flashy blocks or big highlights. It was disciplined defense, the kind that exposes a team searching for shortcuts. And then there was Lexi Hall. She doesn't always make the highlight reels, but her defense on Jackie Young was relentless. She hounded her on every possession, forced her to fight for every look, and closed the night with a staggering +24 plus-minus. The best of the game. That's not luck, that's impact you can measure.
Tipped by Sims, so 9 seconds to shoot.
Hull's done a nice job on Jackie Young early in this game. Jackie likes to go north to south. She made her play east to west, has not given her an angle to the bucket or to the rim.
And that was one of the things that was talked about, to make Jackie move laterally. She's so dangerous. We gotta hurry. Chelsea gets it inside to Young. Rebound by Howard.
The Fever didn't just survive a game designed to throw them off balance. They humiliated the Aces on their own floor by staying calm and composed. And as sweet as that was, the biggest blow came when Aaliyah Boston went head-to-head with the league's MVP. On the very same day A'ja Wilson was awarded the MVP trophy, Boston flipped the script, turning her into the most frustrated player on the court. Wilson had the spotlight, the stage, the crowd behind her. But when it came down to the game itself, Boston owned the paint. Every time Wilson tried to establish position, Boston was there first, bodying her up, forcing contact, and making her battle for every touch. This wasn't about stopping her once or twice. It was possession after possession of relentless, suffocating defense that left the so-called unstoppable scorer searching for answers.
I want to talk about it. Yeah, her missing layup after layup after layup. They want to talk about Caitlin Clark missing a three-pointer from half court while she got people falling into her legs. But nobody wants to talk about A'ja Wilson looking like Angel Reese, missing point-blank layups all game long. In a playoff game, 6 for 22.
Wilson ended the night hitting just 6 of her 22 shots. A nightmare stat line for someone crowned the league's best player only hours earlier. And make no mistake, that wasn't luck. Aaliyah Boston, Brianna Turner, and Natasha Howard formed a defensive wall that cut off every comfort zone Wilson usually thrives in. The spins, the drop steps, the easy touches, none of it was there. Every attempt was smothered by size, strength, and relentless positioning. The Aces never found their trademark offensive flow because Indiana slammed the brakes on it. Every shot was pressured, every rebound was contested, and Wilson, no matter how hard she tried to force her way into rhythm, simply couldn't find it.
Great steal to seal the win against Atlanta. Great start for Aaliyah Boston.
Definitely the best slasher.
Boston and Wilson, two former South Carolina players. A'ja can't find the bottom of the net.
5'11". Odyssey Sims and Kelsey Mitchell 5'8".
Boston up, under, and in.
Really having her battle.
A'ja.
The gap between the two stars couldn't have been more obvious. Aaliyah Boston stayed steady, sticking to the game plan and letting the game come to her. A'ja Wilson, on the other hand, unraveled. She leaned into flops to draw whistles, waved her arms at officials, and kept settling for tough contested shots. What made it worse was that Las Vegas never adjusted. Coach Becky Hammon, instead of giving Indiana's defense credit, downplayed the story after the game. She pointed to mistakes and missed chances, but never admitted the truth, that Boston flat out outplayed Wilson on the biggest stage. It felt like karma. Wilson received her MVP trophy in the morning, but by night's end, she was walking off her own court outshined by a second-year center in her very first playoff semifinal. And the difference wasn't just in physicality, it was composure. Boston stayed calm, made smart adjustments, and refused to let either the pressure or her opponent dictate her game. That poise became the separator. One side prepared for the moment, while the other simply assumed they'd own it.
People think we aren't going to win. People think we're not going to come back. Like, the game's never over until that final buzzer. So for us, just continuing to believe, continuing to trust in the process. But yeah, that game was really exciting. And I think that just showed us that we really are capable of whatever we want.
Inside Indiana's locker room, the post-game celebration matched the fight they had just shown. And when Lexi Hull, who had been knocked around and shoved all night, finally spoke, her words summed it up perfectly. We're capable of whatever we want. That's the question heading into Game 2. Can the Fever use this same formula and break Las Vegas again, this time on their own floor? One win is in the books, 2 more are needed, and history shows the odds are on their side. In a best of 5, nearly 75% of teams that take Game 1 go on to win the series. So this wasn't just a road victory, it was a statement, a shift in the entire series. The Aces had rolled in with 18 wins in their last 19 games, riding a wave of dominance. But that momentum evaporated the moment Indiana stormed into their house and snatched away home court advantage.
I keep the main thing, and that is us playing to a standard of basketball that we want to have as an Indiana Fever organization and franchise. We've got to keep our layers, the outside, the people in our building, and the people in our locker room. And the thing I'm just so proud of with this group is it doesn't matter who's on the floor, it doesn't matter who's on our roster. they give each other the freedom to be themselves. They empower one another to be themselves and to be the best version of themselves. And every time we've had a change, every time we've brought someone in, every time we've had rotational changes, they're for each other. They live the we over the me. And when you have that, it just gives you opportunities to do really special things.
Las Vegas suddenly finds itself in rare territory, embarrassed on their own court. Their MVP was neutralized, and even their coach admitted afterward they couldn't match Indiana's intensity. Now Game 2 becomes all about adjustments. Expect them to slow the tempo, attack Kelsey Mitchell more aggressively, and feed Aja Wilson closer to the basket where she's most comfortable. Don't be shocked if Jackie Young shadows Mitchell from the opening tip, determined not to let her explode again. Meanwhile, Indiana plays with house money. Stephanie White has her group fully locked in, her stars buying into the plan, and even the injured players acting like extra voices on the bench. For the Fever, this isn't just momentum, it's the chance to prove they belong in the contender conversation. And if they walk out of Vegas with another win, the defending champs would be heading to Indianapolis on the brink of elimination.
Feel about the performance, the urgency, and the response you had when they made a couple runs late?
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, our group has seen it all. We wanted to come in and be the aggressor right away to make sure that we were dictating on the defensive end, and we were dictating from a pace standpoint. They're champions for a reason. We knew that they were going to make runs. They made a big one in the third, and we responded with a big one. I'm proud of our team. It's one game, it's a long series, so we got to keep the main thing. But to come in here and to be able to steal this one was big.
The Fever didn't just pull off a road win in Vegas, they rewrote the entire narrative. On the same night, Aja Wilson was crowned league MVP. Indiana silenced the Aces and earned their first semifinal victory in more than a decade. Think about that. A roster missing key players walked into the toughest building in the WNBA and walked out with history on their side. And here's the kicker. In a best of 5, the team that grabs Game 1 usually goes on to control the series. So this wasn't just a surprise. It could be the moment everything shifts. The only question now, can the Fever ride this momentum and flip the whole playoff picture upside down? Drop Fever Show in the comments to show your support for Indiana's fight through all the adversity. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. Click the video on your screen and we'll see you in the next one.